Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. It's another chilly morning outside and it's still pretty early in the morning, so I think I'm going to do this episode of The Twilight Zone from inside my home where it's not that warm, but it's still warmer than it is outside. Well, I hope you guys have been having a good weekend. I have a pretty good Q&A Sunday episode here. There's a lot of questions and comments that are definitely worthy commenting on this episode. But first, I wanted to, first of all, what you're seeing there is a book by G. Edward Griffin. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with this book. Some of you may be. This is a great book, and it covers the creation and the function of the Federal Reserve. Okay? And if you want to learn where money comes from, this is the book to get. It's a great read, and it's not that expensive. You could probably find this used if you have a used book place in your area. Or you can get it from Amazon. I think I paid less than $20 for it. Okay, and it's definitely a good read and something that's going to be useful for you to understand exactly where money comes from and what money really is. And this is actually a book that I'm going to have my daughter probably read, not this summer, but next summer. I'll probably end up reading it with her chapter by chapter. But just to give you a real quick preview, I'm going to read one short phrase out of it. And it starts as, "What creature is this? What is the Federal Reserve System? The answer may surprise you. It is not federal, and there are no reserves. Furthermore, the Federal Reserve banks are not even banks." Okay? So that's a real quick preview of what's inside this book. And it's actually a really good book. I recommend it to anyone. And it's not even that hard of a read for a young person. Okay? Next year, my daughter will be in 6th grade. And she will be able to read this. She could probably read it now. But I'm going to wait till next summer. That way we can do it together. So having said that, one other quick thing before we start off. I'm going to try to see if I can put a poll in this video. I'm trying to mess around with that to see if it works or how it works. So probably during the first minute of this video, can you please watch out, or the first couple of minutes, it's probably already been a minute. Can you please look out for a small card on the top of the video, and can you please take that poll? It's going to be very quick, probably take you about not even 10 seconds. So I appreciate if you participate in that. So let's start off. The first one here is by Scott DeSantis. Oh, and it says here, "You inspired me to do a payday prep. I am a low pay grade, but $10 a week can get a lot." So what Scott's saying here is that through our videos and our conversations, he's been inspired to start doing payday preps, and that even if he can only spend $10 a week, that's plenty for him to start prepping. And I agree 100%. Whatever you have extra, instead of buying that pizza, buy that 15-pound, 20-pound, 50-pound bag of rice. And then next payday, buy 5 or 10 pounds of beans. Just start with the basics and build it up from there. I mean, that's a great thing. I think when I replied to him, I told him that I was doing a happy dance. And I did, because this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is a perfect example. This is the only reason I started this channel, is to get people to think outside the box and to start prepping. That's it. All right. All of the I have a lot of fun doing this. Don't get me wrong. So this is a lot of fun for me to do. Okay, doing this and sharing this with you all. But before I started this channel, I was like, man, we need to get people to start prepping, because no one's going to take care of you or your family. They might be able to for a couple of days or maybe a week, but then what? Then what are you going to do? So every time I see a comment like this, it makes me feel really good. So thank you for that, Scott. I really appreciate it, and congratulations. Keep it up. And if you have any questions, Scott, just put it up on the board. You know, if I can't answer it, one of the other subs will. Okay. Another one here from Salobrena. "I am curious to know how much that mountain house cost, and is it meant for one person meal? Well, the Mountain House, the one that I reviewed last, the I think it was Italian peppers and steak, something like that. That was kind of expensive. It was north of $9 and less than 10, and that is pretty expensive. And it says 2 servings, but really, if you're using it for just recreational purposes, like for camping and stuff like that, and for hiking or anything like that, it's only got like 580 calories. It's not that many calories in these for what you pay, because with $10 I can buy 30 pounds of rice, okay? And you're looking at 60,000 plus calories and 30 pounds of rice. And here you're paying almost $10 for 500 calories, okay? So every prep item has its purpose. And I do not recommend that you prep Mountain House unless you have the basics. Okay, if you have not started prepping, if you're not prepping, if you're just starting out and you don't have anything stored away except for what you have in your kitchen pantry area, then start with the basics. All right, because you're gonna get the best bang for your buck with the basics: rice, legumes, sugar, salt. You're gonna get the best bang for your buck. But not only that, those items last a really long time. You don't have to worry about them. So once you put those things away and you feel very comfortable that you have a 1 month, 2 month, I would recommend 6 months supply, if not more, of the basics. I would recommend as much as you can get of the basics, really. Me personally, I don't feel comfortable unless I have a year or two, just the basics. So once you've put away, your basic nutrients, your basic grains, sugar, salt, for the period of time that you're comfortable with, then you can start venturing out into maybe canning your own meat, making your own jams, canning your own vegetables, maybe going out and buying some, I would call it prepper luxury items like Mountain House, things like that. But you also should remember your other B's of prepping, okay? So that was a good question, Salobrena. Linda Banak, she asked, what were the ingredients in the Italian pepper steak Mountain House meal, and is it good for you? I think I replied to Linda, and I put the ingredients of that entire package there. As far as is it good for you, it depends. If you have high blood pressure, it's got a lot of salt. So is it meant for people that have high blood pressure? These meals are meant, really, in my opinion, these meals are meant for people to eat that are physically engaged in something, okay? Just like the backpacker's meal, they have a picture of a guy with a backpack and he's getting ready to go hiking or something. But think about it. If SHTF ever did happen, the last thing that you're going to worry about is how much salt something has. Because you're going to be running around. You're going to be doing this. You're going to be doing that. You're going to be sweating. You're going to be trying to stay hydrated. And that's actually good for you to have salt, excess salt in your body if you're trying to stay hydrated because you're doing a lot of sweating or a lot of physical work. So, is it good for you? I eat it, and I would eat it if I had to, with no reservations whatsoever. But that's a question that you really have to ask yourself. Do you think it's going to be good for you? All right, because everyone's different. Okay, so the next one, Marisa Alonso, she mentioned that since 9/11 we've been under martial law, and she says that I'm not sure about martial law. Oh no, sorry, this is my reply. Now I'm not sure if we are actually in martial law. I'm sure someone can probably go and get definitions and say, yeah, we're technically under martial law ever since the Federal Reserve was formed, because then we had the IRS, the income tax, all these things. But what I see is that we are more in somewhat of a police state. And when I say police state, I don't mean that you go outside your house and there's army trucks and police all over the place. I mean a soft kind of a police state. And what I mean by soft is that you are being policed more through propaganda and fear than you are being policed physically. Even though in the U.S. there's over 80,000 SWAT no-knock raids annually, which is pretty disgusting. But anyways, so for example, there are over 20,000 gun control laws right now, and they want to keep passing more. It's because it's death by 1,000 pokes, or whatever you want to call it. You know that phrase, death by 1,000 cuts. So there's over 20,000 gun laws and over 450 federal laws. On average, a new law is created every 2 to 3 days. Okay? On average, in the United States, a new law is created every 2 or 3 days. All right? In the last 10 years, more than 1,900 new laws have been passed. Okay? So that's why I say that we are kind of like in a soft police state, because there's so many laws on the books that every single person in the U.S. every single day breaks at least one law. At least. Without knowing it, because there's so many laws. So that's why I say that we're in somewhat of a soft police state. Okay, Jaguar, he stated that Mountain House foods are so tasty he stated that the reason Mountain House foods are so tasty is because when Mountain House prepares their foods, they cook the meal and then they freeze dry it. As opposed to some other brands, they cook each ingredient separately, freeze dry them, and then they put them together. Okay? So, I mean, I've heard that before as well. But what I have to say is that, listen, ladies and gentlemen, you're the one that's prepping for you and your family's needs. You get what you want to get as long as you are prepping. Okay? And then just follow some basic, rules of preservation. If you're putting away rice, make sure that you put that thing in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber, or at least in in one of those vacuum bags with the oxygen absorber, because the oxygen absorber is what's going to preserve that rice inside of that container. All right, preferably I would say a Mylar bag. Okay, but don't just take a bag of rice, put it in a 5-gallon bucket, close the lid, and think it's going to be good in 20, 30 years, because it probably won't be. All right. I can assure you of that. It probably won't be. I've never tested it before. I have seen videos on what rice looks like after, I believe, 30 years. And one that was packaged in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber, and one that was not. And you could definitely tell the difference, okay? The person that did that video did not cook the rice that was not protected. He only cooked the rice that was protected in the Mylar bag with the oxygen absorber. Once he cooked it, it looked like regular rice from the start to the end. So I definitely say that make sure that you just use some basic storage guidelines. All right, but yeah, just prep what you guys want. Just prep. Just make sure you're prepping. Let's see. Jay Elkins, he stated, how can a person say they love their family and not make provisions for them? Well, that's a good comment. It's not a question. I mean, it is a question, but it's not one that I can answer because it's not one that I practice. That's the only reason I do prep, is because I love my family, because I want to make sure that they're well taken care of in any situation. So thank you for that, Jay Elkins. Also, I have a small story for you. We'll take a little intermission right here. We're about, 14 minutes in. I'm going to have to make it quick. So that moose that you guys saw that I took a picture of, that guy there, he's been coming around here for about the past 2.5, 3 years. At first, he started coming around here with his mother. And last year, we noticed that he was alone because we seen him on the side of the road and noticed that he was by himself. And then this year, obviously, he's by himself as well, but he's a lot bigger. So he's been coming around here. I kind of hope that he'll keep coming around here and we'll see him for a long time. But the reality of that is that eventually he'll be on someone's dinner plate. So it is what it is. And some of you also asked me if if bull moose have antlers, because some of you were thinking that that was a female moose. It's not. It's a bull, the one that I have on the picture there. But bulls grow antlers for mating season. And let me see here. I think I got something out of here. Okay. All right, yeah. Bulls grow antlers, and they shed their antlers every day. I believe right before winter, excuse me. Antlers are only used for fighting for a mate. And they are shed each winter after mating season, which runs from September to October. So yeah, they just use them for fighting. And I know that during the summertime, or during the time that they're growing them, I do know that it also helps to regulate their body temperature during the hotter parts of the month, because these are really big animals and they probably do get hot out there. Even here in Alaska, they probably get hot during the summer times. Okay, Iridium 242 stated that he does the same thing in reference to putting change in a jar and then turning it into cash or AG. So what I wanted to, and thank you for commenting on that, Iridium. It wasn't a question, it was a comment, but I found it interesting because trying to cash in that change, turn it into actual paper, it's not as easy as it used to be. And if you go and do it in one of those machines that you find at like a Walmart, they charge you like almost 12% of what you're bringing in. So it's definitely not cost effective to do that. And then if you bring it to a bank, most banks want you to have it rolled up. So what I was saying is, what I was thinking to tell you guys is that, excuse me, don't be afraid to keep change in the house instead of cash. What I think would happen is, and this is what I think, all right, because I could be 100% wrong. But what I think would happen is if we had some kind of an economic collapse, all right, is I think that we would go into a very deflationary period at first, okay? Because remember, if we go into some kind of a financial collapse, the banks are going to close, all right? And then where are you going to get cash from, okay? You're not going to. And even if you could, there's only maybe about $600 billion worth of cash in the U.S., okay? Out of 14 or so trillion dollars that are in banks, in savings accounts, pensions, etc., there's only about 600 billion physical dollars in the U.S., okay? So if the banks are closed, you can't use your credit cards, you can't use your ATM cards, and you can't take any cash out. The only cash that there's going to be around is what's circulating. So I believe that that will create a deflationary effect at first, where your cash is actually going to be valued higher because you're going to have cash to buy stuff. So you're going to hold that cash a lot more precious than in normal times. So you're probably going to be able to buy things on sale at that point until the government says, wow, we need to create more dollars and put them in the system, and then they'll just start those printing presses and keep them rolling, and then that's when hyperinflation will come in. Now, that's just me thinking out loud. I have no idea what will happen, but my point is that if you have coins like that and you find it too much of a burden to go and trade them in for cash, just trade in what you want to make into silver, what you want to use to buy silver, and then there's nothing wrong with keeping a few $100s in quarters and dimes and nickels, stored away in your house. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. So thank you for the comment, Iridium. Hudal commented that instead of prepping AG, this week he prepared a whole bunch of meat products. So, hey, that's great. You know why? Because you're prepping. All right. So, and I have a follow-up to that, which is a question from Rhonda M. that kind of segues off of that question. So I'll do that one next. And it says, Rhonda M., thanks. I'd like to submit another silver question for Q&A if possible. Okay, and there's her question. Most silver stackers believe that constitutional silver will be used as a means of barter if an economic collapse or SHTF happens. I don't know if this will be true, as what I see on the news in countries have collapsed is people bartering food, usable goods, or people just resorting to violence and robbing each other, and not really civilized barter at all. Do you know of any parts of the world after a fiat collapse, precious metals have been used as the country rebuilds? Okay, so that is a great question, Rhonda. Great question. So I do know that in Zimbabwe, I think it was around 1999 or so. You'd have to check that date out, but just type in Zimbabwe economic collapse or Zimbabwe hyperinflation. I do know that during their hyperinflation period, or their first hyperinflation period, because they're going through another one right now, that the only way that you could really buy any foods or food stuff in the country was with gold. Okay, gold or silver, and mainly it was gold, because in Zimbabwe, they have gold in the ground, so people will actually go out to their backyards and pan for gold all day long to be able to find enough gold to maybe buy a loaf of bread or the equivalence of in grains. Okay, I know that in Venezuela, I've stated this before, right now in the black market, they are trading silver, and I'm pretty sure gold too. I just heard silver for food. Okay, now having said that, your 3 B's, all right, you have your 5 B's of prepping. Your first 3 B's are the most important parts of prepping to me. Your first 3 B's are the most important. Why is that? Because they take care of you and your family. All right, prepping with silver, or preserving your wealth in silver, I feel is more useful for when you make it to the other side of an event like that. Okay, when you make it to the other side of an economic collapse, or a financial reset, like for example in Venezuela, they just reset the amount of what gold costs. Okay, they just reset how much gold costs, or how much gold is valued over there nominally, and it was like 260 something thousand times the amount. So those people that held on to their gold until their reset occurred, they're now a lot more well off, because their gold is now worth exponentially more nominally than it was before. Okay, so I see as prepping with precious metals as not really prepping, but preserving your wealth. All right, and that's what I think you may want to take out of precious metals. That don't look at it as an investment, and don't look at it as trying to get rich quick. Just look at it as insurance that has historically done a great job in preserving people's wealth. Okay, so thank you very much. And Rhonda also asked about storage ideas, about if I get silver, where should I store it? And all I have to say about that is use your imagination. Use your imagination. Make sure you put it somewhere where no one knows where it is, and only tell whoever you trust unconditionally where it is. All right, so. Okay, so some of you were pretty supportive, or most of you, almost everyone that watched the video, and I really appreciate that. I'm glad I put out that video. Were very supportive about the video that I did about my son's silver stash. Now, just having said that, I have a really funny story about my daughter, okay? So my daughter, she obviously doesn't have that much silver, okay? But she does have some, because I only give her silver or gold, depending on if it's like her birthday. Like usually on her birthday or Christmas, I'll give my daughter and my son each, I'll give them like a 10th ounce or a 20th ounce of gold, depending on how much cash I have during that time. All right, but whenever she does a chore or something around the house, I pay her in silver. And she's got a little stack of silver of her own. She's 11 years old. And whenever we get our PFD check in Alaska, I have her buy some silver with that PFD check, and then we of course give her some cash as well, because it's her money. It's all hers, and we never take it from her. We just make sure that it doesn't, that some of it gets put into savings, okay? And the funny part is that she understands real money. She understands fiat. She can tell you what both are. And every time that I go to pay her for a chore or something that she's done, I give it to her in silver. She she's like, I don't want real money. I want fiat. I want fiat because I want to be able to go to the store and spend it. I don't want any real money. So I thought you guys would find that kind of amusing, that an 11-year-old is arguing with her father about not wanting real money, that she prefers fiat. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was it. This is the last part. This is a pretty long video. It's going to go on close to 30 minutes. So before I sign off, let me go ahead and shout out some new subscribers. And we had a few since last week, so here we go. John Adams, thank you. Mandy McLaughlin, CB, High Desert Expectation, Tuan P, Brandon Evans, or that may be Brandon, I might have misspelled it. Brandon Evans, Barbara L, MJ King, Jason Booth, Melissa Schneider, Noib, Murray Tay, and it's me, Brian. Thank you very much, guys, for subscribing. I really appreciate you guys being here with us. As always, if you guys have any questions, comments, make sure you jot them down. We have a great community building up here of people that are really willing to help and comment or try to find an answer for your questions. And if I can't find the answer, I'll look for it until I find it, or somebody from the community will answer it for you. So thank you very much. If you subscribed in the last week and I didn't shout you out, it's more than likely because your account is on private, so I can't see that you subscribe. So I'm not telling you to change that. Do what you want, but if I'm not shouting you out, it's because of that. So if I missed you, I apologize for that, but it's more than likely because I can't see you. Okay, let me leave it off with a couple of quotes. And this one is, quote, "Ignorance has always been the weapon of tyrants, enlightenment the salvation of the free," unquote. And that was Bill Richardson. Another one, quote, "The welfare of the people is particular," sorry, I'll start all over on that. "The welfare of the people in particular has always been the alibi of tyrants," unquote. And that's Albert Camus. Okay. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you all about this. So let me just go ahead and say, ladies and gentlemen, remember that here in the U.S. alone, there are on average 22 veterans who take their own lives on a daily basis. All right? Remember this the next time that your sons and daughters are asked to go fight in a war that profits only the bankers and the rich. All right? Now, I wrote that down so that I can actually read it because I wanted to give you guys the message. But just remember that every day in the United States, on average, 22 military veterans take their lives. Okay? So just remember that. Remember, where is the government for them? The people that asked them to go and fight in a war somewhere off in another country, far away from their own home, where are they now? And these ladies and gentlemen, these veterans that maybe they just didn't understand the world when they joined the military, just like I didn't understand the world, okay? And now they're taking their lives because they see no hope. They have no hope. So just please, if you know anyone, just let them know, hey, listen, please teach your children. Teach your children that war is a terrible thing. I'm going to leave it at that, okay? Because today is a happy day. I want to leave it off with Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there. And I want to say thank you for being mothers, because it's a different thing having a child and being a mother and then just having a child. So for all you mothers, the ones that are real mothers, thank you. Because that's what this world needs now, is good mothers. All right? I've always thought and felt that a mother is the heart of the house, and that a mother is the main person in the home that builds morality into your children. Okay? Now, that's just what I think, okay? But, I think mothers should be held in very high regard, okay? For different reasons than what fathers are held in high regard for. I've always always taught my children, love your mother no matter what, always. And I've always told my wife, you know, when I've had to make hard decisions on my children's behalf, I've always told them, it doesn't matter to me what my children think of me, all right, as long as they cherish you. And that's how I truly feel about that. Okay, so happy Mother's Day. Oh, in case you live in the UK, if you live in the UK, happy You Day. All right, you have a happy You Day, all right, over there in the UK. I'll leave it at that. This is probably the longest video I've made. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, to be good to each other. If good people do good things will happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If everyone did this, the world would be a better place. And you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. Thank you very much for joining me today. I truly hope you enjoy this. And I hope you have a great day out there. And once again, happy Mother's Day and happy You Day to all of you. This is Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.